It was snowing earlier in Flagstaff. Winter is back. Sort of. Yes. Not deep winter, but yeah. Pretty cool, huh? This is my dresser. So I have my glasses, Bible, and my little container here. This is my raven feather. I love ravens. There's so many ravens up here. Maybe that's why I love it so much. Today, I'm going to talk about how to get rid of your stuff. I have a question about that. Also, I have a question about living in the city. Is there an etiquette? What are some of the rules if you're going to actually live in your minivan or a van in the city? And we can deal with that. And I have a couple more random things I'm going to throw at you. Well, I'll offer them to you. I'm not going to throw them at you. Here you go. Here's something random, okay? Okay, let's get going, okay? Here is a letter from Sonia F. 6156. Tell me what to do with all my stuff. LOL. Seriously though, I have a whole house full and no family living. Suggestions? Yes, I do. I've got some suggestions. You really are gonna have to start separating things. That's number one. You got to start separating things. Now, is there an extra room in your place, in your house, apartment, that you can start putting things? The first thing you want to do is put things in there that you want to keep. You want to keep them. That way, when you start looking around for other things, you've got the stuff you really love out of the way. Now, if you don't need to use it right away, what you can do is maybe for a couple months get a storage. Rent a storage and start taking them there, right? It's good to minimalize your life because a lot of that stuff, you don't realize it. It's weighing down your energy. It's on your shoulder. You look around and you say, I know I have too much stuff. I'm going to stay living here, but I just have too much stuff. So separate what you want to keep, that you feel you want to keep, and then start looking around at what you want to get rid of. You might want to go with big things. That way it looks like you're doing something. Start putting it on. You can do Facebook Marketplace. You can do Craigslist, although the big things are going to have to come to your house. So you don't want to really do that. Not with the big things. You might want to do that with like the smaller things so you can meet somebody like at a McDonald's or something like that in their parking lot. Yeah. Now, you can put them in the newspaper. You can have a yard sale. If you can have somebody help you carry them out, you can have a yard sale. Or if you do have a sale and you're going to let people come into your home and you've got it advertised so it's going to be enough people around, then it's sort of like an open house. Try to get everything into just one room, okay? So basically, you can, other than that, what you can do is you can call Goodwill or call maybe a senior center and see if anybody needs some furniture, some things like that. But there are possibilities. And then, you know what else you're going to end up doing? You can also put some things out by the curb. I think in the United States, that's kind of universal. What you don't want, you can put, as long as it's not going to rain within the next couple of days, because that's pretty icky, put it out by the curb. And then let somebody come and get it. And if it's in a box, you can just say free. Come and, take what you want. People are going to stop and they're going to look. Because a lot of people need things. They don't really have the money for it. But a yard sale works also. It's kind of a lot of work. You can maybe have different tables, like dollar table, $5 table. Because if you want to price every little thing, that can be takes a lot of energy, motivation to do all that. But there are some suggestions. Talk to your neighbors and say, I want to get rid of some of my stuff. But first, before you do it, you know what, Sonia? You need to, was it Sonia? Yeah. First, what you need to do is decide what you do want to get rid of. You have to make those decisions. You have to make a plan. You can't just jump into something. You need to start at A and move over to Z. You have to start here. And that's starting separating things even if it's just in your mind. Start going through your clothes. What do you want to get rid of? You kind of know. I think everybody instinctively knows what you don't want anymore. But you end up hanging on to things. I did the same thing. I mean, there were skirts or there were pants or there were shirts or there were coats that I had for a long time. Now, if you're going to collect clothes, let me just say this about that. If you really are going to collect clothes, and there are people that do it. Have you ever heard of Iris Apfel? She had clothes, but she lived in like Park Avenue, and she had 2 Park Avenue apartments that were filled. But that isn't really the point. The point is, if you're going to collect clothes, and that's maybe your goal, I want my things from like the 90s or whatever. Well, guess what? That's like almost 30 years ago, okay? Well, Iris Apfel, if you watch it, it's a great documentary. I love it. She's very relaxing, very interesting. She had all of hers put away properly. It's sort of like art. You want to protect the art, and you want to put it in like a climate place, climate controlled, and you want to cover them, and she had them boxed up. And when they went through her outfits, I mean, they were phenomenal from years ago. They wore white gloves. The women that went through them to see what she had, they wanted to do like a showing. I mean, they were very careful with them. And they had the gloves on, and they would take it apart, and they would be very gentle with the clothes. So if you're going to be a clothes collector, which I doubt if a lot of us are really caring for our clothes that well, get rid of them. Just get rid of them. Donate them. Somebody mentioned if you're going to donate clothes, donate them to nursing homes, because a lot of people in nursing homes don't have families. So got to start going through your clothes. Here's something you can do right now. Go through your papers, your filing cabinets. That's what I did. I went through, this was before I was even going to become a nomad, but I knew I would eventually. I'd already had it up here, but the circumstances didn't click yet, but I knew. And I had 2 filing cabinets, and I was just keeping things. I was keeping files. I was keeping my own writings, and I had file folders for my children. Each one of them, I have 4 children. And I was keeping things for them. Then, of course, I had my photos and things like that. Well, I would spend time when I wasn't working, before I even was getting ready to be nomad. And I went through all of my paperwork. I cleaned things out. Oh, my gosh. Found a couple $100 in there, a couple $100 bills. You never know. I was like, woohoo, woo, jackpot. Obviously I was trying to hide it or something for just such time, but that's what I did. I mean, I found receipts from a car that was like 20 years earlier. Why was I keeping that? We're dealing with electric bills. So no, and if you don't have a shredder, I didn't have a shredder. I'll tell you what you can do. Here's what I usually do. I had some 5-gallon buckets, and I was just putting my paper in there, okay? Then what you do is, when you get what you want, you pour water into it. Let it really soak up. If you really want to do it well, pour a little chlorine bleach in there and just let it set. Eventually, it's just going to gum up and gum up. Then you can drain the water and just take it. It's almost like a pulp, like a dough, and then throw it away. Make a big ball of it and throw it away, so you don't have to shred everything. Or you can just shred it, but it does take time. But that's a good way. In here, of course, I don't have a shredder. What I do sometimes is when I want to get rid of paperwork, I'll put it in a bucket or my wastebasket, empty wastebasket, and I'll do that. I'll just fill it with water, or get it wet and let it just sit there for a little while. Then you just kind of take it out and go like that. I mean, nobody can look through it, right? Because it becomes sort of like just a pasty ball, okay? So start going through your papers, but you need to start small, and then you can start really go through papers, go through photos, go through your clothes, go through your shoes. Get rid of some of the shoes donate them. Either donate them to Goodwill, donate them to like Savers or something like that, or donate it to a nursing home. That's always a good one. Or what about a shelter? If they have a shelter for homeless people, yeah. So there's where you start. Then you can start separating your stuff, okay? Then you can start separating it on what you do want to keep. Another thing too is go through your kitchen. Yeah, the kitchen holds a whole bunch of stuff, doesn't it? Stuff that you're never going to use. Old packets of something that you kept, like old packet of spaghetti that you're going to add water, make. Some of that stuff, yeah. And you can always donate food you don't want to the food bank, okay? As long as it's good. You don't want to donate crap, okay? I mean, if it's past its prime, throw it away. Yeah. If you have a garage, yeah. That might be towards the end because there might be good stuff in there. Does that help? Sonia, does that help get you started? There are so many possibilities, okay? It's sort of like sleet. It's half snow, half rain. I'm loving it because just coming up from Tucson and 97 degrees, I'm as snug as a bug in a rug in here. I love it. Okay, question number 2 from Landstar9217. Minivan Lee, I have a question for you. What are the rules and etiquette for when you simply live within a city? I'm planning on starting minivan life again this fall, but in a sizable city. Things like visiting each location one day every 2 weeks, and how long, like how many hours within the times they're open. Can you stay at a place? I work overnights, so napping at the park from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in my minivan, would that be okay? Just wanted your thoughts because you really seem to be a person able to live respectfully within your community and have a wealth of knowledge. Thanks. Well, basically, if you're going to live in a city and you want to have proper etiquette, it's going to be the same etiquette as living in a house. You want to be a good citizen, right? You want to urban nestle. You want to nestle in with the locals. And you don't want to appear to be so different. So if it's a city you've never been to before, or let's say it's in a whole different part of the nation, yeah, they're going to have different rules. I remember when I first went to Cincinnati, wow, it was like going to a different country. I mean, it really was. I mean, I was born and raised in Ohio, but after 40 years being in Arizona, I mean, it was quite different. It was like, whoa, okay. And plus 40 years is a lot of difference as time went on, right? Okay, so basically your etiquette is going to be just being a good American citizen, right? Like don't litter, drive careful, don't road rage, on the road. Yeah, park properly, don't take up 2 spaces, things like that. It's really common sense, and I'm sure that you have it because that was a well thought out question. Now, I'm going to answer the question about the park. You can stay from, usually parks open up at 6 a.m. until like 10, right? You could stay the whole time. You can stay there. Find yourself a good parking place and stay. Go to sleep. Relax, right? Put your window coverings up. Put a little, it might get noisy, so put on a little nature app. Find a little nature app or white noise in the background and go to sleep. Maybe drink some sleepy time tea. Make sure you have good window coverings because you don't want light coming in. I've tried that once. I did. But if you know what you're doing, you can deal with it. And just go to sleep and wake up, have your alarm go off and get ready. Make your coffee, whatever you got to do, or drive to a little restaurant, drive to McDonald's, get yourself a senior coffee, and then go on your merry way. But you have a right to be there. Don't worry about that. You don't have to keep moving around. It's a park, right? Okay, so one rule I would say, if you're a nomad and you want to go to a restaurant, but you feel like, well, you want to stay there and drink coffee for a while. Maybe you want to take some notes and just relax. It's sort of like a kitchen table for you. And I've done that many times. Let me tell you, a lot of times it makes waitresses nervous because they need a good tip. So they want you to eat and move on so they can get somebody else there. Let them know in the beginning that you want to sit here for a little bit and drink coffee and you are going to tip them very well. They'll be happy with that. They really will, as long as you let them know. Now, if they don't seem happy with that, find another place. Seriously, just find another place. Find another, like a diner, where you got a very comfortable, booth that you can, sort of relax into. Okay, so another one of your questions was things like visiting each location one day every 2 weeks, or how long, like how many hours within the entire day, as long as they're open. Just, yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, you don't have to keep moving around all the time. And if you are going to go to a restaurant, I don't know what you mean. It might include restaurants or whatever. Maybe you stay at a place at one time, stay at a place. Maybe you mean like parking. Find yourself a nice little place to park, maybe in a neighborhood or something. Follow the rules that I say. Park in between 2 houses on the street. Don't just park right directly in front of a house. Maybe in between. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, stay there every night if you want to. But, you're working at night. That's right. So you're going to, but you'll have days off. Just go find yourself a place and go park. Yeah. There's a lot of laws on the books and a lot of court cases that are actually, there's one I'm going to talk about tomorrow in the Supreme Court. I'm going to talk about that. There are a lot of homeless people. There are a lot of people living in their vans. There are court cases up the yin yang going on right now that are saying it's class action suits that we have the right to be in our cars. We can't afford the rent. What are we supposed to do? And there are people who it's a class action suit, and it's I told you about the one that was in San Diego, and they won. So we're going to see in October how that's going to change the law, because they're going to pay out some pretty heavy fines. And some of those people who had to go through, that were in the class action suit, are going to get some money because they've had to pay numerous from their pockets to get their vehicles out of storage because they towed them, things like that. Yeah, they're going to pay. And I think this is going to open the eyes up of cities. And so just on your days off, find yourself a quiet little place, not too shabby, but not too high end, and go find yourself a place to park. On the weekends, you can go park there. Let's see, what else? I think as far as etiquette goes, I think that pretty much explains it. Because etiquette would be anybody who lives in a house too. There are certain etiquettes, and people who live in houses, they don't follow their own etiquette at all. A lot of them don't. I mean, they're a road rage and driving crazy, or maybe even driving drunk. They're parking. They'll park in such an odd way to take up too many spaces. One pet peeve that I've always had, and I've seen nomads do that, so maybe I will mention this, is when you have parking spaces like this, but you have somebody that pulls up like this and takes like 6 or 7 parking spaces. No, I think that's pretty rude, especially when they're parking under solar panels. I've seen it done where there's only so many parking spaces under solar panels, where you're parked under the solar panels. One time I mentioned that, somebody says, well, how are you getting the power from the solar panels? How does that work? No, I'm not getting power from the solar panels. What I'm doing is we want to park under them because we want to get out of the sun. And so there's solar panels that the park uses or the city uses, and it gives us good shade to park under. But for somebody to take this much space, I've seen it in Cracker Barrels too. They'll just park like this and take up a whole bunch of spaces. Not only is it because they have like a Class C or a Class A, which is like a bus, but they've also got a trailer. So they're literally taking up 12 spaces. I know. So there's where some of your etiquette will come in. Just try to think logical and use common sense on that. So those were really great questions. Thank you so much. So hey y'all, I'm just here in the cold. It's gonna be cold for like 4 or 5 days. I don't care, because I know what's a coming. I know it's going to get warm. I know actually we're going to go through some beautiful weather. In about 5 days, it's going to be just perfect. It's only going to get up to 70. How perfect is that? And then, of course, then towards the end of July, it'll start getting hot. Yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm prepared. I've got my things that I'm prepared for it. So, yeah. If you want to give me a gift, if you want to help support me, go to minivanlee.com and just click on gifts. And it can be as small as $5, whatever you want to share. And if you don't want to do it, or if you can't do it, don't worry about it. But if it's something that you would like to do, I have that available. I've got the book, How to Live in a Minivan. It's on Amazon. Just type in Minivan Lee and I will come up. And it's a book from A to Z, how to get going. A lot of what I talk about, but there's a lot of details in there. So until tomorrow. Now, I didn't mention about part 3. Okay, I understand that. Thought I'd give you a break. But I think tomorrow, I'm going to talk about this case that's in the Supreme Court right now. I want to talk about that. It involves nomads and homeless people. And they do include us living in vehicles as homeless. Hey, I always say, I don't care if you call me homeless. I poop in a bucket. What the heck, I know. And then probably the next day, I'll talk about my second leg of my journey after Dallas. So until tomorrow, I love you guys. Yeah, you know who you are. I love you guys. Until tomorrow, everybody. Mwah.